John Lusk here of Lusk Archery Adventures. Series testing, successful hunting. I've got a really cool broadhead to test here today. It's kind of not the typical head that I test, but it comes all the way from Germany. It's a brand new head, and it's called the Ram. And this is a Ram 200 grain, but it has a really cool system of providing replaceable ferrules and increasing the weight of the broadhead by replacing those ferrules. And single bevel, I'll go through all the design features and specifications in a second, but I was just really impressed with some of the overall features. And for the test, I'm going to be using my regimen for 2024. For a detailed description of that, why I do the tests that I do, how I do the tests, how I quantify them, and so forth, please check out the video that I posted earlier this year called 2024 Broadhead Test Process. And it'll walk you through all of that. For most of the shooting, I'm using my Elite Era that I'm just loving this year. And for the accuracy testing, I'm using this Killer Instinct SWAT X1 crossbow because it eliminates so much human error. And for the arrows, I'm using Bishop Archery arrows and bolts because they're just top tier and they eliminate a lot of error as well. So let's zoom on in here and check out this Ram and then put it to the test. Here's a good look at this head, and man, this broadhead just screams quality. You take it out of the package and you just know, even though they're pretty pricey, you know it was money well spent. They are just, I mean, top tier in terms of tolerances and so forth. All German made. The steel came from there, as well as it's manufactured and put together in Germany. So all from Germany. This is a 200 grain model, and I'll go through the different weights and so forth in a bit. Let's start with the materials. It's machined out of Chippa steel, which is basically like an S7, but it's an upgraded S7. It's on par with the toughness and the impact resistance of S7 tool steel, which, to put it in perspective, that's like 5 or 6 times more impact resistant than, say, like 420 stainless steel. So it's on par with the toughness of S7, but it's harder. You can make it, you can harden it better. So this is like got a Rockwell hardness of 60 to 61, and it's more corrosion resistant than S7. So really high quality steel right here. It's got a cutting diameter of 1 1/8 inches, and with the length to width is 2 to 1. So 2 to 1, having a long head like this, that's going to improve the penetration in certain mediums, like especially liquid mediums where there's not the hindrance to penetration caused by friction on the side. If you shoot it into like layered cardboard, like I'm going to do, or gel, this length kind of works against it, and it inhibits deeper penetration because it creates surface friction right there. But in liquid-based materials, like a lot of what's inside of an animal, the long, narrow heads can aid in penetration. So now through bone or through hide, you know, it may be different. That may be more like the leather. So, but anyway, in theory, it's a better penetrating head in an animal because of its length like that. The blades are pretty thick. It's got, they're 1.5 millimeters, or like, I think it's like 0.0591 inches thick. So just about 0.060 inches thick. Now, it's got a hollowed ferrule. This is really interesting, okay? It's kind of hard to explain. The ferrule of these is hollowed out. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to change out the ferrule with different materials or add different weights to help it to go from 200 to 300 grains with the same broadhead. And that, you know, you can add like these different threaded portions of the ferrule. These are 55 grains, or you can add these little weights inside. These are 25 grains, or you can add the 50 grain weight inside. All of that inside the ferrule, or If the ferrule were to break, like sometimes happens on some single bevel heads due to the rotation, you can easily replace the ferrule without having to replace the entire broadhead. So pretty creative to give 5 different weights with one blade. And if like you're hunting in Africa, that can make a big difference. You can use a 200 grain for one animal, but then you want to beef up the FOC and you want to beef up your momentum with a bigger animal, then you can add those different weights internally to get up to 300 grains. So pretty cool. And then this red line, you may wonder what this red line is for. Well, it's along this single bevel, okay? You can see it's single bevel sharpened on both sides, a little bit in the back, not as sharp in the back. And that bevel angle is 30 degrees. And this red line is just a scoop to make it easier to resharpen. You don't have to grind all that steel right there. You're just sharpening the part that's not the red line. So it just makes it a little bit easier to sharpen like that. And for resharpening, I would use the Stay Sharp Guide C kit. With this single bevel and it being 30 degrees, I think the Stay Sharp Guide C kit would work the best with that. You also notice it has a pretty stout tanto tip, which along with that blade thickness is going to make that tip pretty durable. And the main part of the ferrule here is really gradual as well. There's not like a separate component and a big niche there or notch that impedes penetration. It's really smooth all the way in. So really well-made broadhead, super eager to put it to the test and see how it performs. The ram clipped the bullseye. Man, that really surprised me. It took 190 grams of force to cut through the wire, which is a 10 on a 10-point scale, plus a bonus for being under the threshold of 200. It penetrated 7 inches. It only took an additional 14 grams of force to cut through the wire, which is a 9.72 on a 10-point scale. It penetrated through 47 layers, which is a 6.71 on a 10-point scale. The head's in pristine condition after the 3 shots through the MDF. And the head is still in perfect condition after the 2 shots through the steel plate. The only signs of wear are in the red paint itself. The edge is just perfectly intact, as is the point. And you can see the nice S-cut of a single bevel there. It rotated 5 degrees at 10 inches. Here it is after all the durability testing, and man, these blades are just incredible. I mean, they're still really sharp after the steel plate and going deeply into the cinder block. I mean, just really exceptional durability. Okay, what'd you think? Man, let me tell you, this broadhead well exceeded my expectations. Now, I know they're not cheap, but like I've said of other broadheads before, when you take them out of the package, you do not wonder where your money went. I mean, it is quality, quality, quality. And in the scoring, my goodness, they scored incredibly, almost perfectly in every area except the cut size. And they can't help that. It's by design that they have a smaller cut to increase penetration. And one thing I want to note, I've mentioned it before, but I want to mention it now. I do believe that when there's a longer, narrower broadhead, the tests that I do are largely friction-based, right, with the cardboard, layered cardboard, or the gel, the MDF. And so the broadheads that have more surface area, that impedes the penetration in those mediums. Well, in animals, there's some of those mediums too, like bone and like thick hide. But there's also liquid-based mediums like meat and tissue that don't have that friction and allow these broadheads to zip through a lot more readily. So I have a formula that I use to give these heads a bonus based on that, just kind of like a real world bonus in terms of penetration. I think to make it a level playing field between the shorter broadheads and the longer broadheads like that. But anyway, all that said, you check out the score sheet and see how it performed in the areas that matter to you the most, and see if this might be a really good fit for you. And stay tuned for the overall score, the cumulative score, and the corresponding Lusk grade. As well as at the end of every video, I post a list of all the different discount codes that I have so far this year. And they're increasing so much that now I put the extras, the new ones that I get, I put them in the description of the video, because I can change that after it's been posted, but I can't change what's inside the video. So I alphabetize them, and you can find a list of all those discount codes, and I hope it saves you some money. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Look forward to seeing you next time.